You ever have one of those family dinners where you're eating dry chicken, listening to someone brag about their kid's SAT score, and you realize, oh, I'm the cautionary tale? That was me at 19. My cousin Jill had just gotten into Cornell. My brother was going to Yale. And me? I had a Home Depot gift card and a wrench set from Craigslist. Dylan's always been handy, my mom said with a tight smile, like she was apologizing for me. Fixes sinks and stuff, Dad added, chuckling as he poured more wine. Our little pipe whisperer. Everyone laughed. Except me. Not because I didn't have a sense of humor, but because it wasn't a joke, it was the family script. Dylan, the almost smart one. Dylan, who could have gone far if he just applied himself. Dylan, who wore steel-toed boots to Thanksgiving because he didn't have time to change after work. I didn't argue. I didn't clap back. I just kept chewing my overcooked chicken and thought about the leaky faucet I had to fix in the morning. That faucet paid $85. College? It wanted $200,000 from me and gave back existential dread. Look, I wasn't some prodigy with a monkey wrench. I wasn't even the best in my trade school class. But I knew how to work. And more importantly, I liked it. There was something weirdly satisfying about taking apart a sink trap full of soap scum and mystery goop and putting it back together so it actually drained. Gross? Sure. But it was honest. The problem was, my family didn't care about honest. They cared about status. My parents had this whole Pinterest board vision for their kids: Ivy League, glossy diplomas, rooftop brunches. And when I deviated from the blueprint, they treated me like a malfunctioning appliance they couldn't return. When I said I was enrolling in trade school, my mom blinked like I'd spoken Klingon. Oh, sweetheart, she said slowly. You're better than that. Better than plumbing? I asked. No. I mean, yes, but not like that. You have potential. There it was. The cursed word. Potential, in my house meant, we're disappointed but trying to sound supportive for appearances. I didn't bother explaining. I just showed up to class every morning at 7 a.m., tools in hand, surrounded by people who didn't care about GPAs, just getting the job done without flooding the crawlspace. By the time my brother graduated with honors, I had my first regular clients. By the time he was hunting for internships in finance, I was crawling under houses with black mold and a flashlight. And while he practiced PowerPoint slides in his dorm, I was practicing how to reseal a garbage disposal while being barked at by a Pomeranian named Doug. It wasn't glamorous. But it was mine. The thing is, my parents never stopped reminding me of what I could have been, if only I hadn't settled for blue-collar life. You'll regret not getting a real education, my dad warned, usually while sending me photos of some guy's kid getting an MBA. You can't fix sinks forever. Maybe not. But I could fix a leaky pipe faster than my dad could find the Wi-Fi password. That had to count for something. Still, the jabs kept coming. At family gatherings, it was always, so when are you going back to school? Do you ever think about doing something more? My friend's son just got hired at Tesla. Maybe he could give you a tour? I smiled. I nodded. I passed the mashed potatoes. Then I showed up at 6 a.m. the next morning to fix a broken water heater and left with $350 in cash and 3 boxes of Girl Scout cookies. Because while they were busy collecting degrees and job rejections, I was building a client list. And let me tell you, there's nothing like watching someone in a suit panic because their bathroom's flooding and they don't know how to turn off the water main. That's when I became less the one who fixes sinks, and more the guy who saved their wood floors from turning into a lake. Still, I kept it quiet. Didn't post about my work. Didn't brag. I wasn't trying to prove anything. Until the day something shifted. It was a Tuesday, I remember, because my boots were still wet from a job at a daycare with a glitter explosion in the pipes, don't ask. I came home to find a message from a client named Ron, who owned a local cafe chain. He needed emergency help. Toilet exploded mid-brunch rush. Yelp reviews were at risk. This was DEFCON 1. I showed up. Fixed the issue. Left him with working pipes and his dignity intact. The next day, he called again, not for a job, but for a proposal. You ever think about expanding? He asked. You've got good instincts. Good work ethic. I know a guy who does wraps and branding for vans. Could be a whole thing. I laughed. Thought he was kidding. But he wasn't. That night I sat on my worn-out couch, sipping off-brand soda, and thinking, what if I did expand? What if I wasn't just Handy Dylan anymore? What if I built something? Something they couldn't mock because it was too loud to ignore. That night, I drew something on a napkin. Not a blueprint. Just a sad-looking van with Dylan's Drain Works scrawled across the side in all caps. My roommate said it sounded like a ska band. He wasn't wrong. Still, the idea stuck. I started researching in the evenings: licensing, business insurance, scheduling apps, wrap designs. I watched hours of YouTube videos on how to price labor without crying. Meanwhile, my parents were texting me photos of my cousin's med school acceptance and my brother networking with a VP. Can you believe it? My mom wrote. Yeah. I could. I just couldn't believe she still spelled my name, Dylan. But I didn't reply. I stayed focused. I bought a used 2010 van. Smelled like expired cologne and regret, but it ran. I scrubbed it clean, slapped a logo on the side, Pipe Dream Plumbing, Joe vetoed. Drain Daddy, thankfully, and hit the road. Work exploded faster than a cracked water main. I was reliable, didn't upsell nonsense, and actually returned calls. Apparently that made me a unicorn in home repair. Within 6 months, I had regular clients. By month 9 I couldn't keep up. So I hired Eli. Ex-military, calm under pressure, could talk a toddler out of a tantrum mid-leak. Then Reggie joined, hilarious guy, worked fast, and judged my playlist less than average. We made a good team. Second van? Bought it. Wrapped it. Named her Vanessa. Because why not? And through all this? Still didn't tell my family. They didn't ask, anyway. Except to say things like, still doing that plumbing thing? At barbecues. Once, at Thanksgiving, Mom introduced me as, this is Dylan. He fixes things. Pipes and, that kind of stuff. Like I was the family goblin who lived under the sink. Meanwhile, my brother was being toasted for shifting metrics in an unpaid internship. Cool. I kept my head down. Showed up to family dinners, brought casserole, smiled when they joked about me fixing the guest toilet. Then went home and checked inventory on copper fittings. But then Nate, my buddy who's great with design, made a Facebook ad mock-up just for laughs. Hammer and wrench got a drip that won't quit? Call the crew that shows up. Pipe Dream Plumbing, local, licensed, unbothered. Hammer and wrench. We died laughing. Still, I cleaned it up, made it real, and boosted it with a small ad budget. Nothing wild, just enough to target locals. 2 days later, Joe called me. You did it, she said. Did what? You broke your mother. I blinked. What? She saw the ad. On Facebook. Right between a muffin recipe and a post about Jill's gender reveal. She's on the phone with Aunt Karen trying to figure out if you're running some kind of operation. I choked. She sent a screenshot. There it was, my vans, my crew, and my name, right under the tagline. Don't trust your pipes to people who ghost you. Comments were pouring in. Linda. Used them last week. Amazing service. Rich. Fixed my sink in one visit. Respect. Pamela. So glad to see a local business thrive. And then, from my mom. Susan L. Wait. This is Dylan's business? Not a question. A crisis. I didn't have to tell my mom anything. Facebook did it for me. She saw the ad. Called 3 times in 1 hour. When I finally answered, she skipped. Hello? Since when do you have vans? No, how are you? I replied, sipping coffee. Just straight to vans? Dylan. Since last spring. We just assumed you were still freelancing. Fixing sinks. I still do. Just from 2 wrapped vehicles with a licensed crew and a 5-star rating. Silence. We showed your father, she added. He nearly choked on his biscotti. Not the worst reaction I've caused. That night, a family group text dropped. Mom, we're all very surprised. Dad, good for you. Hope you're saving. Cousin Jill. Wait, that's your company? My friend said your guy was hot, lol. Classic Jill. I didn't reply. Just showed up to Sunday dinner with paper towels and apple pie like usual. They acted like nothing had changed, at first. But Dad couldn't help himself. So, this plumbing thing. It's like a real business now? Guess so. Mom tried to sound casual. Are you registered? Licensed, bonded, insured, I said calmly. We also have matching shirts. She nodded, as if shirts made it real. Then Jill chimed in. Didn't you say you weren't into business? I'm not into pretending to like hedge funds at 8 a.m. That earned a genuine laugh, my first one at the table in years. After dinner, Mom cornered me by the sink. Irony noted. She lowered her voice. This is all great, Dylan. But is it sustainable? There it was. Not doubt. Just old programming. You mean the trade you call the phase? She flinched. We didn't mean it that way. No, you meant you had a different version of me in your head. One with a desk job and a LinkedIn profile. Don't be dramatic. I'm not. I'm being accurate. She tried to regroup. Patted my arm like I just passed the salt. Well, it's impressive. The word she used when she couldn't argue, but couldn't praise either. That night, I told Joe over pizza. They said I was impressive. Whoa, she said, mouth full of crust. That's basically an emotional standing ovation. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt tired. Because I'd wanted this moment for years, the day my family would see me. But now, it didn't feel like respect. It felt like recognition only because I was now too visible to ignore. A week later, I got a message from a local lifestyle mag. Someone sent them the ad. They wanted to do a spotlight. Rising tradespeople in the city. I agreed. They came out, took pictures of the vans, asked what inspired me. I told them. Bills. The article dropped 2 weeks later. Headline. From wrench to riches, the young man reinventing plumbing. I cringed. But my mom posted it with a caption. Proud of my son Dylan. Always knew he had it in him. Blue heart hammer and wrench. Did she? Because the version she knew didn't come with vans, a crew, or grease under his nails. But that's okay. The likes rolled in. Her friends messaged me. Her cousin sent me a friend request. Even her church group shared the post. Suddenly, I wasn't the fixer of sinks. I was the guy who built something. And whether they liked it or not, they had to scroll past it. The weirdest part of going viral in your zip code? Your enemies crawl out first. Your family shows up after. It started simple, a couple nice posts on Nextdoor. Finally, a plumber who doesn't ghost mid-job. Props to Dylan. Fixed my dishwasher and complimented my dog. 5 stars. Then came Craig. Craig ran. Superior Sewer Solutions. Which sounds like a discount villain group from a plumbing-themed cartoon. He once tried to poach Eli in the Home Depot parking lot with a promise of better tools and longer lunch breaks. One morning I got a flyer in my mailbox that read, Don't trust your pipes to rookies with TikTok ads. Call a pro. Subtle Craig. I taped it to our supply closet like a trophy. Reggie wanted to send him a bouquet of used caulk tubes. But Craig wasn't alone. Some other shops slashed prices or posted fake reviews. One said I left a job, half finished, at an address I'd never even visited. I didn't clap back. I didn't need to. Our schedule was booked 2 weeks out. Clients were happy. I had my crew, my vans, and a name people remembered. What threw me wasn't the fake reviews. It was the brunch invite. And Sharon messaged me directly. Hey sweetie. Jill's having a little engagement brunch this weekend. You have to come. We'd love to see you. That was new. Before, I'd only find out about family events from Instagram. Oh, sorry. We thought you were working. Now suddenly I was a VIP. I showed up, brought flowers, even wore a button-down. I figured I'd play the game. But as soon as I walked in, Sharon clinked her mimosa and said, We're just so proud of Dylan. Proof that hard work pays off. My mom beamed like she'd built my company from scratch. Dad nodded slowly like he just now understood what I do for a living. Even Jill leaned in and whispered, "My friend said your guy was hot." That's weirdly cool. I chewed my waffle and tried not to choke. Because I knew what was happening. This wasn't pride. This was PR cleanup. They weren't proud of me. They were just relieved I hadn't failed hard enough to embarrass the bloodline. Suddenly, I wasn't the one who fixes sinks. I was R. Dylan, the entrepreneur. And no one, absolutely no one, mentioned how I used to sleep in my van between jobs. Afterward, I vented to Joe over takeout. They raised a toast to me. "Wow," she said. "Did they slip in a GoFundMe link for your brother?" "Not yet. They're trying to retroactively claim credit, huh?" "Pretty much. I'm just waiting for Mom to say, we always supported trade work." We laughed. But the truth hit harder than I expected. For years I thought I wanted this. A seat at the table. A nod of respect. But now that I had it, it didn't feel earned, on their side anyway. They weren't clapping because they saw me. They were clapping because I became visible enough for them to pretend they had. Later that night, Jo tossed me her phone. "You got an email?" I checked. Local entrepreneur group. Speaking panel. Topic: non-traditional paths to business ownership. They wanted me to speak. Me. The guy who once got laughed at for bringing a wrench to career day. "You gonna do it?" Jo grinned. I didn't answer right away. But for the first time, I wasn't just thinking about fixing things. I was thinking about building them. Public speaking? Not on my original bingo card. My only experience with microphones was yelling into one at a busted drive-through speaker when I was 16. But the invite sat in my inbox like a dare. A local entrepreneur summit. Panel topic: paths you don't learn in school. Jo was practically vibrating. "You've got to do it." "I unclog toilets for a living," I said. "And built a business doing it," she shot back. "You're like the Rocky Balboa of calcium buildup." So I said yes. I spent the next week Googling how to speak on stage without sweating through your shirt. Jo helped write bullet points. Eli offered to loan me his good boots. Reggie suggested I open with, "What's up, nerds?" and then flex. Hard pass. But something else happened that week. I came home from a triple job shift, one involving an elderly woman, a mop, and the worst garbage disposal in city history, and found an envelope taped to my door. No return address. Just Dylan, written in sharp, careful cursive. Inside was a thank you card. Front: community hero. Inside: thank you for showing up at 3 a.m. when no one else would. You saved my bathroom, my floor, and probably my sanity. Linda. I just stood there, holding it, still smelling like wet drywall and old cheese. It hit different. My whole life, I'd tried to earn claps from the people who were supposed to root for me. And now? Some lady with a leaky bathroom and a kind heart made me feel more seen than all the family bunches combined. I stuck the card to my fridge. Right above a magnet that says, "I Red Heart Water Pressure." That night, I stopped hesitating. I signed a lease on a third van. Did I need it yet? Not exactly. But I was done playing catch-up. We had the clients. We had the momentum. We needed to grow or get left behind. The next morning, I met Kayla. She'd worked for a big plumbing chain but got laid off after a corporate restructuring, which we both agreed was code for they fired the competent ones first. She had tools, experience, and that rare quality I valued more than technical knowledge. She listened to customers without acting like a robot. We shook hands in a greasy parking lot next to her toolbox. Felt like hiring a mercenary for a plumbing war. I gave her the keys to Vanessa 3, yes, we named the vans, and told her to take the week shadowing Eli. She was booked for jobs by lunch. Meanwhile, I kept prepping for the summit. Jo helped me practice on her couch while she threw popcorn when I started talking too fast. "Breathe, Dylan. You're not reading off a Home Depot receipt." I black out when I make eye contact. Then stare into the void. "You've been doing that since high school." On the day of the panel, I showed up in a clean button-down, clean jeans, and boots that didn't smell like wet insulation. The auditorium wasn't huge, maybe 50 chairs, some folding, all full. Next to me on stage was a bakery owner, a landscaping guy, and someone who ran a mobile dog grooming service out of a minivan. I fit in. When they called my name, I walked up, took the mic, and almost forgot everything. Then I looked out. Saw someone nodding. He wore a neon orange vest and mud-covered boots. Someone like me. So I talked. About sinks. About getting laughed at. About learning business from pipe fittings and client complaints instead of textbooks. About doing something beneath people's expectations and making it worth something anyway. I told them. Success doesn't always wear a tie. Sometimes it wears coveralls and smells like copper and Gatorade. The room laughed. And clapped. And afterward? A kid came up to me, 17, acne, hands already calloused, and said, "I thought I had to go to college. But maybe I just need to work." I shook his hand. Gave him a card. Because who knows? Maybe in 5 years, he'll be up here instead of me. After the summit, things snowballed. Not in a flashy, Shark Tank kind of way, just steady. More calls. More referrals. A local real estate firm reached out to have us on retainer for new listings. Eli started running crew scheduling. Kayla closed 4 jobs her first week solo. Reggie accidentally became our in-house social media guy after one hilarious TikTok about plungers hit 80,000 views. We weren't just moving. We were building. And for the first time, I wasn't operating out of survival. I was planning ahead. I stopped buying tools one at a time. Started ordering bulk. Got a warehouse space the size of a 2-car garage, and finally stopped storing PVC elbows in my living room. It was small stuff, but it felt big. Then came the text. From Mom. "Mom, saw your magazine thing again. You really turned out great, Dylan. Maybe we can do dinner soon?" No emoji. Just that. Like a peace offering with the emotional range of a parking ticket. I stared at it longer than I wanted to. Joe saw me sulking and raised an eyebrow. "Let me guess, your mom discovered empathy?" "Kind of. She wants dinner." Define wants. She texted? Define texted. I handed her the phone. Joe rolled her eyes. "Bro. This is the same woman who once called you an example of wasted potential at Thanksgiving. She said I fixed things instead of growing?" "Exactly." Still, something in me wanted to say yes. Like some dusty reflex from childhood, maybe this time, they mean it. Maybe this time, they're not just checking the good parent box. I didn't reply. Not yet. The next day, I got another text, this time from Dad. "Dad, your cousin's graduation is next month. We'd love for you to come. Everyone's asking about you." Asking about me? Or asking about the Vans? Either way, I said no. Didn't explain. Didn't offer a soft excuse. I just typed, "Hope it goes well," and left it at that. Because here's what I'd learned. People who only clap when you're winning were never rooting for you in the first place. They just like winners. But winners aren't always who they think. Sometimes it's a kid they joked about for fixing sinks. Sometimes it's a guy in a service van who built a business while they were posting filtered brunch selfies. Sometimes it's the person who didn't need to prove anything anymore, and that's what made them impossible to ignore. Still, they kept trying. Little messages. Random comments on our Facebook posts. Mom shared a throwback photo of me in overalls when I was 4, captioned, "Always had the tools, blue heart, hammer and inch." I mean, come on. Where was that energy when I was sleeping in my van with $43 in my checking account? Joe and I laughed about it while labeling storage bins in the warehouse. "She's rebranding herself as your biggest fan," Joe said. "She's always been a fan," I said. "Just not when it mattered." We stuck the new Pipe Dream decals on our tool crates. Reggie blasted 90s rap from a Bluetooth speaker. Kayla swore at a C's valve fitting in the back. And I stood there, watching the team, my team, getting stuff done, cracking jokes, moving forward. And realized, this is my family now. This crew. This business. This shop that smelled like pipe glue and old coffee. This was what I'd built when the original plan, the one everyone expected me to follow, left me behind. And maybe they'd never really understand what it took. Maybe they'd keep sending empty texts and throwback posts and pretend they always saw the vision. But I didn't need that anymore. I had clarity. I had people who showed up. And I had a key in my hand that opened the front door to something I made real. And nothing, not a brunch invite or a passive-aggressive text, could take that away. A month later it came. The big ask. I was elbow-deep in a commercial job, fixing a line that some genius had installed backwards, when I saw the missed call from Mom. Twice. Then a voicemail. Her voice was tight. Friendly, but the kind of friendly you use on customer service reps before asking for a refund on a 3-year-old blender. Hey sweetie! Hope you're doing well. Listen, we have a small favor to ask. Nothing major. Just, can you call when you get a second? I already knew. Nobody starts a message like that unless they're about to ask you to help move a piano or co-sign a loan. So I didn't call. But they didn't wait. That evening, I got a text from my brother. Ryan. Hey man. So, Dad's got some plumbing issues at the house. Thought maybe you or your team could stop by? He's trying to avoid the big companies. Says you're local? Oh, now I'm local? Now I'm family when the sink gurgles and the basement smells like mushrooms? Jo was reading over my shoulder. She snorted. Oh my God! That's bold. They want me to unclog their loyalty. I said. What are you gonna say? I thought about it for a second. Then typed. Me. Hi Ryan. We're booked for the next 3 weeks. But happy to send you our rate sheet if he wants to get on the schedule. Let me know. He replied with. Ryan. Seriously? You're gonna charge Dad? Me. You seriously forgot I'm not doing this for free. No response. The next day, Mom sent a group text with a photo of the bathroom floor and the caption. Water everywhere. Dad says the whole pipe is shot. We're really in a bind here. Followed by. Please. Just this once? That. Just this once. Hit harder than it should have. Like I was being offered one last chance to prove I could be the good son. If I showed up tools in hand, unpaid, unacknowledged, and ready to smile through it. I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded the thread to Jo and Reggie and asked them to draft up a priority weekend rate sheet, with 0 discounts and a rush fee. Because this wasn't about plumbing. It was about history. For years, they didn't see what I did as valuable. They called it a skill, not a career. A phase, not a business. Now, they needed a plumber. And suddenly I mattered. But not because I changed. Because their toilet did. Reggie framed their text and hung it in the warehouse bathroom. Captioned it. Motivation. Meanwhile, we kept moving. Pipe Dream got a call from a local elementary school that wanted to do a career day. Said one of their 4th graders saw our van and wrote a whole essay about being like the pipe boss. I showed up. Gave a demo. Let kids hold tools. One asked if I made $1 million. I told her. Not yet. But I do get free donuts sometimes. She nodded solemnly. That's rich enough. Afterwards, one of the teachers pulled me aside. You've become kind of a role model around here. That stuck with me. Because years ago, my own parents couldn't even say, we're proud of you. And now, I had literal children drawing me with wrenches on construction paper like I was their blue-collar Batman. Driving home that day, I passed my parents' neighborhood. Didn't stop. Didn't text. Didn't look back. Because I wasn't trying to prove anything anymore. I wasn't here to rescue people who only remembered me when things broke. I was building something for people who never forgot I could. 2 weeks later, the ad went up. Jo had been working on it in secret. A billboard. A real one, right off the freeway exit near my old high school. It read, Pipe Dream Plumbing. Locally owned. Proudly independent. Never ghosting your pipes. And in smaller letters at the bottom. Yes, Mom, it's a real business. I laughed so hard I had to pull the van over when I saw it. Too much? Jo asked when I called. It's perfect. That billboard got more traction than we expected. Someone posted a photo of it on Reddit, and it blew up. Suddenly we had out-of-towners calling, saying things like, "Hey, I don't live there, but I love the vibe. Do you ship merch?" So Reggie made shirts. Kayla printed stickers. Eli threatened to put CEO of Drains on my LinkedIn. I let him. And slowly, something shifted, not just in the business, but in me. I stopped checking my phone after every big job, waiting for a "We're proud of you" text that would never come. I stopped trying to retroactively win the childhood approval I'd never gotten. I let go of the idea that success meant proving something to people who still thought the trades were for kids who couldn't hack college. Because now, I had something better than their validation. I had my crew. I had my name on 3 vans. I had a key to a shop that smelled like hard work and coffee grounds, and a wall covered in client thank you notes, sarcastic employee awards, and one beautifully laminated fake Craig flyer labeled Inspiration of the Year. One evening, Joe and I were locking up when my phone buzzed again. "Mom, we still haven't heard from you. We're trying to fix things. Let us know when we can talk." I stared at the screen for a while. Then typed, "Me. You didn't like what I was building when it was small. You only like it now that it's big. That's not fixing things, that's showing up late to the story and asking for a starring role." I didn't hit send. I just deleted it. Then muted the thread. Some silences are heavier than words. And besides, I didn't need to fight the past. I was too busy living in what I built from it. The next morning, I pulled up to the warehouse and found 2 kids waiting near the door with their mom. "Are you Dylan?" one asked. "Depends. Did someone send you here for a prank?" He grinned and held up a school flyer. "Career Week. You're our class guest." Joe came around the corner with donuts. Reggie yelled from inside that someone clogged the sink with dried grout again. I looked around at my ridiculous, hard-working, chaos-loving crew, my family, and smiled. Because in the end, this wasn't just about sinks. It was about value. Mine. And no one gets to put a price on that but me.